I woke to the sound of dripping water, and my own groaning. Adrenaline and exhaustion had saved me from feeling the full brunt of the pain I was in until now. This was quite unpleasant, and the pitch darkness didn't help. It was as though the only thing that existed in the whole universe was me and my pain. The pain was something I couldn't do that much about. The cold and the darkness, however. For starters, let's get these clothes off. Grinning slightly at the stereotypical porno line, I began to take my clothes off, item by item, and do my best to wring the water from them. Getting them completely dry was out of the question. To do that, I would need to start a fire. Impossible. Even if I could find something to burn, using up all the oxygen in a cave would kill me faster than the cold would. It wasn't even that cold. It was cool, and I was wet, so that made it cold. The lack of a breeze was definitely a saving grace, though. If there was wind chill down here, I'd have more than just a chill. The process of wringing out every item of clothing I had was getting arduous. Seeking a break from my undesirable task, I charged my flashlight and clicked it on, and was struck with terror. There was no source of light in this cave. The atmosphere was the most unnatural darkness you could ever know. So why did I see 2 points of light deeper in the cave? Beyond the forest of stalactites, beyond the shoreline of this midnight grotto, I caught a glimpse of 2 green eyes staring out towards me as I stared back at them. And then they were gone. It occurred to me that if it were possible for me to survive the journey to the bottom of this shaft, then surely a wild animal, tougher and stronger than a mere human, could survive to the bottom of this shaft as well. Indeed, depending on how often animals fell down that hole, a predator might even be able to survive a short time down here on the remains of the wounded and dead creatures delivered up to it by a pit trap constructed with God's own hands. How many bones littered the bottom of this pool? How many skeletons will I find beyond these shores? Of course, it would not have escaped injury in its own fall. And it wouldn't be spoiled for choice in terms of prey animals. It would be starving and wounded and scared. If it could easily escape to the outside, it would have done so. So I was trapped down here with it. Any predator, even the ones that would normally never attack a human like a bobcat or a coyote, would be stealing their resolve and preparing itself to fill its belly with me. For the moment, the shoreline was my only security. There was a short distance, perhaps 10 feet, between the waterline and the formations of stalactites. Beyond that, my hidden roommate could be hiding anywhere or behind anything. Of course, if I stayed here, then I could never find a way out of here. Which meant I needed to prepare for a fight. With fucking what? I vocalized. My Swiss Army knife? Against what? A bear? Wolf? A cougar? I shuddered at the thought of one of those wraiths, as silent as a shadow, stalking me, moving as quickly as a breeze to bury its fangs in my throat the moment I let my light go out. Get it together, man. It hasn't attacked you yet, but you need to be ready for it to. So think. I need a weapon. A Swiss Army knife isn't much, but it is better than nothing. Perhaps the old prison technique of putting something heavy in a knotted sock. Find a rock, put it in a sock. Somehow I couldn't see that stopping a determined predator. No, the ideal would be something sharp and stabby. Something to reach deep and puncture vital organs. Slashing and bludgeoning aren't the way to go if you're fighting a determined enemy. Something stabby and long. Did I have anything like that? Could I make anything like that? Well, unless you're a professional caveman, long and stabby means metal. Metal. My trowel! Not the best spear in the world, but I could make it work. I turned my attention to the cave floor and found a flatter section of stone, and I got to work. Carrying handfuls of water over to the rock, I wet it, and then I started using the cave floor like a whetstone. to grind an edge into the end of my trowel. Every once in a while my flashlight would go out, and I would frantically pump it back into life before continuing my task. I don't know how long it took, but after what felt like ages, I had managed to put a very respectable edge on my trowel. I had a decent shank. A spear would have been much better, but alas, there were no poles to be had. Perhaps I could improvise a shield with my backpack. I could hold it out in front of me with the straps over my arm and grip one of the straps. That way if something tried to claw at me, I could put all of the padding in the pack between it and me. Okay, genius, you need a third hand then. How are you going to carry the flashlight? I took a bit of the rope that had been tied around my waist and turned it into a lanyard to loop the flashlight around my neck so that I could have the pack over my arm and point it with my hand and then drop it and have the light dangle from my neck while I fought. Not an ideal situation, but as good as it gets. All right. I guess I'm prepared as I'm going to get. Tally-ho, lads!